Hi writers, welcome to week 2. This video is going to go over what's happening this week. I just want to say that I am impressed with the amount of genuine, authentic, caring conversation from last week as we set our class norms, as we decide what kind of community we want to coexist in, and as we learn how to Zoom and use Canvas to learn. So for week 2, I'm just scrolling down here. Week 2 is much like last week, kind of just setting ourselves up for knowing where we've been as thinkers, learners, writers, readers, reflecting on those things so that we can kind of have a vision of what our experiences have been and where we would like to go. I'm going to click on the module overview. And so you can see here, the module overview talks about reading and writing process. I like to call them reading and writing practice because it's a skill that we continue to cultivate and grow in our whole lives. And so that's kind of awesome. You don't have to be perfect at it. You just keep getting better as you get older, as you get more practice. But the goal for the modules this week are talking to the text, which you're familiar with, golden lines, and free writing. So these are some of the techniques that we're going to be using throughout the whole semester, and hopefully you'll use them in your other courses as well. This week, today so far, has been really interesting to me. Both my children are doing distance learning, so they're both in class right now. They're in class in the mornings from 8:15 until 11:15, and there's also a recess in there. So it's really cool to kind of see them. They're basically Zooming for that entire time. And my 6-year-old, her little office is right next to mine. She is doing really fun activities. They do like get their wiggles out and they're drawing together, and it's just really cool to see them learning. So this is kind of what it looks like with my kids in distance learning. It is super interesting to all be learning in the same environment. It's kind of fun. But it tends to get kind of loud, so I'm relocating here. Okay. Just have the sun and moon behind me. Let me fix that. Okay. And we're back. Okay. So as far as what's happening this week, we have our checklist to complete. We have 2-1 through 2-6.
You start with the letter M. Find something that starts with the letter M.
Nope, I have to go for 1 sec. I start with the letter M. Okay, I'm back. My daughter is doing a scavenger hunt with her class, and so she had to find something that started with M. And since I'm mom, I start with M. Pretty cool. And then my son got kicked off his Zoom, so we had to fix that. Welcome to COVID and technology. So anywho, these are the tasks for this week. I'm going to go ahead and click on the first one. So we're just practicing great strategies you can use in any course. They're really helpful. I use them as an adult learner, as a experienced adult learner, and so again, you can play with them, see which ones work for you, and then use them in your classes with your reading and writing comprehension. The first discussion is talking about our strategies that we stay motivated for reading and comprehension. And then your task is to think of one of the reading strategies that you use when you're reading texts or readings for a class, and you're gonna share that with us. So let me click on the next one. The next assignment for this week is going over what is a free write. Free writing and brainstorming and clustering in your journal are by far the most useful strategies for fleshing out ideas, for getting the ideas from your head onto the page. The more you practice free writing, the more confident you'll feel, the stronger you'll feel with just getting out whatever's on your mind. And this is really helpful. So your task is here. You're going to set the timer and you're going to do a practice free write and talk about it here. So that's for that discussion. If I click on the next page, you'll see what is talking to a text. So we did a think out loud from Reading Apprenticeship, one of the strategies. Another really important strategy is talking to the text. This is where you're actually talking, having a conversation with the text as you're engaging in it. And so it's a written think aloud. It's when you're annotating a text or writing on a text itself. Also, a way of thinking about it that I think is really fun, because I have quite a few and I love them, is tattooing a text. So if you're tattooing a text, then you are talking to the text, you're writing on it. You're asking questions, you're making statements, you're inquiring or summarizing the ideas that you've read on the actual reading itself. And so we can talk a little bit more about this, but it's something you've probably done. You can underline words or highlight words. I always underline golden lines or things that I think are beautiful. If you're into highlighting, you can do it that way. But that's kind of what's happening. We have a little YouTube on that as well. It's college success strategies talking to the text. And then we have an article here about how to succeed in an online course during the COVID pandemic. And then we have our little exercise here. Option, if you're printing the article poses a challenge, feel free to select a short section from any reading available to you that you can annotate and upload as a photograph. So you're going to upload your annotated text. If I go back to my homepage, I think I can find one. Let me see if I have enough skills to navigate my own technology. So in the course that I took for Reading Apprenticeship, I ended up annotating something that I read because I had to submit it. Let's see if it's in here. I'm trying to show you my Oh, is that it? Is that it? Maybe this is it. So I'm going to double click it. This is a reading sample. I mean, you guys are all familiar with this, but I'm going to click it anyway. Just so you can see what mine looks like. Kind of get it inside your head so that when you do it, you feel confident and good about it. So here's a chapter that I read. It's called Writing is Also Always a Cognitive Activity. And so here's my notes as I was reading. Let's see if I can move this. I like to underline things. Sometimes I use cuss words because I get all emotional when I'm reading and I'm like, what? WTF? And so I know like it's kind of heated and emotional, and I like to do that in my writing, or write happy faces and circle things. So again, here's just a little sample of what one of mine looks like. So hopefully you can just have fun with it, and hopefully the technology works for you. I'm not going to save this. Get out of here! Why are you doing that? Okay. Just going back to our discussions and assignments for this week. I'm reflecting on what you've learned. So this is where you're going to reflect on what you learned about annotating or tattooing your text. And so how did it feel, right? Sometimes when things are new, they feel a little weird or awkward. And so there's that, right? Or maybe it felt natural, or maybe it was fun for you. For me, tattooing a text is fun because I like to draw and doodle and write and underline. It's kind of a creative act for me, and it locks in information in a way that I wouldn't have experienced if I wasn't kind of touching it and doodling and taking notes. So it helps with my comprehension. But I remember when it used to be very foreign to me, and I used to think, this is weird, why am I writing in a book? And so it's okay to feel that too. It's kind of a process of feeling comfortable with it. The next discussion is what is a golden line? And so it goes over what is a golden line. There's a couple articles. You're going to choose one that you feel is most interesting or engaging. Whenever I'm given options, I'll like click on each one, and then I'll immediately grab the one that visually looks like I just want to dive into it. So you're going to select one, and you're going to go more into depth with it. You're going to practice talking to the text with it, where you tattoo the text. And then you're going to type out 2 of your golden lines along with questions and observations that arose as you're reading. And so here's some templates for that. They're super helpful. Here's a pro tip if you need it, but that one is more practice with golden line, which is extracting the beautiful, juicy, delicious information that you receive. And then the other one is talking to the text, getting more practice in. The next discussion is reflection and aspiration. This is where we're kind of reflecting on where we've been, thinking about online learning in the context of COVID, and kind of sharing. There's 2 paragraphs here. One of them is, what are your strengths as a remote learner? What are some of the challenges you've faced? There's a series of questions here for you in the first paragraph. Typically paragraphs are 5 to 7 sentences. You're welcome to make them longer. What's important with writing a paragraph is that you have fleshed out or built upon your ideas, that it's developed and there's detail and description, because remember, we're readers, and so we're trying to get inside your mind. So you're going to use your sentences and your ideas to help us do that, and your delicious details. And then in the second paragraph, what do you expect to learn in this class? Again, please make sure you check out the syllabus in case you haven't already looked at it. I'm actually going to add it here just so you can kind of see what the framework is for our course, what the student learning outcomes are, and our objectives. So that is what is happening week 2. It might feel like a lot, but as you navigate through it, you'll realize that it's actually probably easier than you thought it might be. Pace yourself, take your time, do 1 discussion a day if that's helpful. And then next week we'll be jumping into Wild Mind and reflecting on our own writing processes and reading some of Natalie Goldberg's short stories. So if you haven't ordered that book, please do so. It is called Wild Mind by Natalie Goldberg. And I look forward to seeing you guys online. Actually, I'll see you online, but I will also see you in class on Zoom this week. Wednesday, if you're in my Wednesday class at 10 o'clock, or Thursday at 10 o'clock if you're in my Thursday class. Have a wonderful week too. Don't forget, on our discussion board, that first discussion, or even on the homepage, we have a link to the questions discussion. If you have any questions, please post them there. Have a great week.